Hey there, everybody. How's it going? So, today I wanted to talk about something that I genuinely think is really, really stupid. And that's that the video game industry is going down, right? Is that it's crap nowadays, it's trash, it's never going to be that great again, yada, yada, yada. This is something that I've heard people say for years, even though that the golden age of gaming is over. And it doesn't really hold much weight at all. So, one of the big complaints that people have with the video game industry is that nowadays it's kind of just one big cash grab, right? That video game companies are really just in it to make money. And to some extent, that is true. Video game companies do want to make money. There are some out there that really are just cash grabs, but this has also been true going back to the 1980s, even back to the early 80s. Back in the early 80s, Atari put out a game called E.T. with the movie, and it was a piece of crap. In fact, it was actually so bad that so many copies got shipped back that they ended up burying them in the desert, right? And that single handedly almost caused the entire video game industry to crash. And it took years and years and years for it to recover. So, yes, the video game industry does have trash, crash, cash grab games nowadays, but it's not nearly, this has always been a thing. This has always been a thing. Another thing to take into account with the video game industry is that nowadays there are way more video games and way more video game developers than there have ever been in history, right? Heck, it's to the point now where I feel like grandmas are out there, knitting, or ajumas are out there knitting, and then they just accidentally make a video game out of their blanket, right? Happens all the time. Don't question me on it. And this is one of the things is that when you have a lot more video games being put out, you tend to have a higher quantity. So you get obviously some great games and then you get a lot more trash games too. But with that being said, I'll also make the argument that overall, video games are getting better than they've ever been too. Last year alone, I even had to write this down. Last year alone, we got Tears of the Kingdom, which is vastly better than Breath of the Wild. The game was a 7.5 out of 10 at best. I Will Die on That Hill game kind of sucked. Okay, you got Baldur's Gate 3, you got Spider-Man 2, you got Mario Wonder, you got Hi-Fi Rush, you got Armored Core 6, and plenty more, but all of these games came out in 2023 alone. So this argument of that we don't have the quality of games or that they aren't being made like they used to be, really, really stupid. This is also not even taking into account the games that came out just last year alone that are remakes or redos of games that came out vastly beforehand. So for instance, the Dead Space remake took everything that the main game was back in '08 and just ramped it up to 11, made it so much better, and just really, really, really modernized it. Another one would be the new Metroid Prime remake, the Resident Evil 4 remake. Keep in mind, all of these games came out in 2023 alone. So the argument that the quality of games is now not the same as it once was, utter and complete bullcrap, okay? Terrible. Ugh. All right. Now, with that being said, there are some stupid trends in gaming that do need to be curved or at the very least, curved or just taken out. One of the big ones would be microtransactions. So, microtransactions are a lot more common nowadays than they've ever been. The issue is that microtransactions have also been a thing going back to the 2000s, in fact, probably beforehand, right? I remember way back when I was a wee Joey lad. Back in the day when Oblivion came out, and they had these microtransactions for horse cosmetics, right? It was really stupid, it was really dumb, and it didn't affect the gameplay at all. But this has been a thing since 2006, right? At least, and it was probably a thing beforehand. So yes, it's more common, but again, this has always been an issue. Another one that does actually have a bit more weight is that games nowadays are released in a more unfinished state. This is true and not true. So one of the worst offenders of this is Halo Infinite. So Halo Infinite was put out with the multiplayer and then the single player, and then they updated the single player, and it sounds like it sucks, and it does suck. It really wasn't that great. And that's sad to say, but it does happen. Another example would be Cyberpunk 2077 but we're going to get to that in 1 second. So that's true that video games are being put out in an unfinished state, but keep this in mind, they're almost known by name because of how trash they are and how trash that practice is. Again, more quantity of games nowadays, you get a fluctuation of quality too. So, sure, it's going to happen, but it's not super common. So, with that being said, the flip side and the positive is that games like Baldur's Gate 3 and Cyberpunk 2077 are able to be consistently updated and made vastly better. Baldur's Gate 3 is a perfect example because it came out as an amazing full-on game, and Shadowheart is my wife. Oh, such a good girl. Anyways, with that being said, there's Valerian Studios is still updating the game to this day, right? They're making it to where, an already great game is still getting better and better and better because we're able to do that nowadays because of the technology that we have, and it's phenomenal. It's amazing. Cyberpunk 2077, No Man's Sky are games that were trash at release but have consistently gotten better, and we can now do that. So again, unfinished games, yes, an issue, but also you have the flip side where they can consistently get better. So with all this being said, I want to say that if the video game industry can survive the crash of 1983 with E.T., with a slew of just bad consoles and bad games, and rebound, and not only rebound, but be better than ever to what it is today, I think it can survive anything. I think that the video game industry is like the S&P, right? It has its peaks and its valleys, but overall it keeps getting better and better, and will continue to get better and just go, okay, I think that it's going to be great. So the next time that you hear someone talk about how the video game industry is trash nowadays, or is terrible or going down, ask them this, or ask yourself this. Is it really trash, or is it just a few bad games or a few bad practices that are giving a bad name to the whole industry? Because I can almost guarantee you that it's probably just the latter. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.